he knows that they are cheating people by using wicked balances and deceitful weights. In chapter 6 and verse number 12, he warns them against committing violence and against lying. In chapter 6 and verse number 16, he chastises them for walking after the evil counsel of Omri and Ahab instead of obeying the law of God. In chapter 7, verses 2 through 4, the Lord shows that their little leaven has literally leavened the whole lump, because the corruption has spread throughout the nation, and everybody from the least to the greatest is doing evil with both hands. In chapter 7 and verse number 5, treachery has taken over to the degree that they can no longer trust their so-called friends. In chapter 7 and verse number 6, things have gotten so bad that they've got to even watch their own family members, because everybody in the house are going crazy. When you look at verse number 7, that's when Micah comes to a conclusion. That's when Micah draws a statement from what he's seen and from what he's experienced, that therefore I will look unto the Lord. Micah is painfully enduring the hardship, having to watch the people who he loves destroy themselves because they're trying to live lawless lives. He loves them, but they will not listen to him. He cares for them, but he can't carry them. That's right. He warns them, but they walk away from him. And so Micah laments in his heart. His heart is heavy because he himself is from Judah. He doesn't want to see his family, the people he grew up with, destroyed. And this is why in the beginning of chapter 7, you see Micah crying, "Oh, woe is me." If you look back at verse number 1 of chapter 7, Micah says, "Woe is me. Yes, sir. I am as when they have gathered the summer fruit, as the grape gleanings of the vintage, and there is no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit." Micah says the reason why he's in such dismay, the reason why his heart is so heavy, because he's looking at what's going on around him. He said, when I look for somebody in the land who wanted to live right, I couldn't find nobody. It was just like going to the vineyard after the gatherers had taken up the grapes of the harvest. There wasn't a cluster left in the vineyard. All that was left behind was some grapes that wasn't fit for the picking. And Micah says, when I look at God's people, that's what I see now. I see a bunch of people who have gotten from being the first ripe fruit to being the leftovers in the vineyard. Micah said, the good man is perished out of the earth. You think a good man is hard to find today? Micah said, it ain't just start happening. Even back when he was prophesying, Micah was looking for a good man. And Micah said, he gone. I cannot find him. He said, there is none upright among men. Why would you say that, Micah? He said, because they all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net. Oh, it's a dog-eat-dog time when one brother sets a trap for another brother. It's a turbulent and a disgraceful time among men when you can't trust those who are closest to you, because they're lagging in wait and just waiting for you to mess up and fall. Oh, Micah says in verse 3, they may do evil with both hands earnestly, presumptuously, and boldly. They are doing evil as if they're doing right. They're committing so many abominations and sins to where their consciences have been seared, and it doesn't even bother or affect them anymore that they're living become corrupt because the prince would ask the judge, and then the judge would ask for a reward. In other words, they were bribing to get their way in justice. And when you don't have any justice in the land, the poor man don't stand a chance. When justice is corrupt, and when the government has become so political to where they are washing each other's hands and getting their way, then when you look at that type of situation going on, it ought to make your heart heavy as a child of God. Micah goes on to say that even the great man uttereth his mischievous desire, and so they wrap it up. The best of them is as a bride, and the most upright is sharper than a thorn hedge. He says that they have become untouchable. Being like a briar and a thorn hedge means you can't get close to them without harming yourself. You can't get to them. You can't lay your hands on them. You can't make them straighten up and fly right, because you only do no damage to yourself. They have gotten to the point where it seems as though they're doing wrong and getting away with it. But Micah said, don't be dismayed now, because the watchman and the visitation cometh, now shall be their perplexity. In other words, God got a day coming in which they're going to reap what they sow. They ain't going to have to get away with it. Sometimes it seems like it. Sometimes it looks like it. But Micah said, God got a day of visitation. And when God has a day of visitation, he ain't just dropping by just to see how you doing. Amen. Yeah. When God has a day of visitation, he's coming to make you pay for whatever it is that you've done. Oh, Micah said, don't trust your friend, verse 5. Trust not ye in a friend, but put ye not confidence in a guide. Don't take that direction too seriously. He said, keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in your bosom. Oh, it's a bad time when the husband can't trust the wife. It's a bad time when the woman that you embrace, you have to keep certain things from because you don't know what her agenda is. That's how Samson messed himself up. Had his head in that woman's lap and she's stroking them dark, pretty curly locks of his hair, and messed around and tore all of his secrets. And by the time he came to himself, he didn't have no hair and he didn't have no eyes. Michael said, we're living in a time when you can't even tell your woman what's going on with you. Why is there such a time as this? Because even the son dishonoreth the father. The daughter rises up against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Man's enemies are the men of his own house. Micah laments because he's prophesying to both kingdoms. He's talking to not only Judah, he's talking to Israel as well. But no one is listening. That's right. No one wants to amend their ways before God. No one wants to turn from the wrong to the right. No one wants to restore order of godliness in the land. Yes, sir. Therefore, Micah decides to do two things that's going to help him make it through this dark, this difficult, and this desolate time. Yes, sir. Micah says, I will look unto the Lord. Oh, amen. Up in heaven, when there ain't nowhere else for you to look. Thank God. Yes. You can always look to him. Amen. But then Micah also says, I will wait for the God of my salvation. Now, Lord's willing, we're going to deal with the I want to wait part this afternoon. Because there is a blessing in waiting for it. But before you can wait for it, you got to look to it. So let us explore what it means to look.